Aranaputa man charged with multiple offenses. Carlton Jones, a 28-year-old unemployed Amerindian from Aranaputa Valley, North Rupununi, was arrested on January 18, 2025, and charged with several serious offenses, including cattle theft and escape from lawful custody. Jones faces the following charges: 6 counts of larceny of cattle, contrary to Section 176 of the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801. 1 count of escape from lawful custody, contrary to Section 340 of the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801. 1 count of inflicting grievous bodily harm, contrary to Section 50 of the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801. 3 counts of unlawful wounding, contrary to Section 30b of the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, Chapter 802. Jones appeared at the Lethem Magistrates Court at approximately 9 a.m. on January 20, 2025, before His Worship Mr. Omedat Chandan. The charges were read to him, and he was not required to enter a plea for the indictable charges, leading to his remand in custody. The case has been adjourned until March 11, 2025, for a report. Regarding the summary charges, Jones pleaded guilty to all 3 counts and received a sentence of 10 months imprisonment for each count, to run concurrently. 88-year-old grandmother and great-grandson gifted new home. In a heartwarming turn of events, 88-year-old Garaji Nanku and her great-grandson have been gifted a new home, bringing an end to years of living in deplorable conditions. Residing in overwinning East Bank Burbus, Garaji faced severe challenges in her old age, often confined to a cramped space due to her inability to move. 4 years, her family sought assistance, but it wasn't until local villagers reached out to community advocate Mohamed that their prayers were answered. Shocked by the inhumane living conditions Garaji endured, Mohamed took swift action. Today, he fulfilled his promise, officially handing over a new house to the disabled pensioner and her great-grandson. This act of kindness has not only transformed their living situation but has also restored hope and dignity to their lives. The community celebrates this remarkable gesture, highlighting the power of compassion and support in making a difference. 113.05 pounds of narcotics found in unfinished building at Mahaicony. Police from the Narcotics branch at Eve Leary discovered a substantial quantity of marijuana during a search at an unfinished concrete building in Washcloths Village, Mahaicony, East Coast, Demerara. The search was conducted on Sunday afternoon, where officers found 4 large parcels wrapped in transparent plastic containing suspected cannabis. The total weight of the narcotics was recorded at 113.05 pounds. No arrests were made during the operation, and investigations are currently ongoing to determine the origin of the drugs and any individuals involved. The police have not released further details as they continue their inquiries. 33-year-old Essequibo resident charged for refusing breathalyzer test. Ishwar Yadabanch, a 33-year-old resident of Adventure Sand Reef on the Essequibo coast, was charged with refusing to take a breathalyzer test during a court appearance at the Bartica Magistrates Court this morning. Before His Worship Magistrate Tariq Mohamed, Yadabanch faced the charge under Section 39E5A of the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, Chapter 51:02, amended by Act 10 of 2008. He pleaded guilty to the offense and was fined $30,000. Additionally, Yadabanch received further fines of $25,000 for driving an unlicensed motor vehicle and $10,000 for operating an uncertified vehicle. Proposed adjustments to personal income tax threshold and rates for 2025. The Ministry of Finance has released a statement detailing proposed adjustments to personal income tax thresholds and rates for the upcoming year. These changes follow a review of the current tax structure and aim to provide clarity to taxpayers. According to the statement, the adjustments will be made to the tax rates and the threshold applicable to individual incomes. The proposed changes are as follows. Tax threshold. The tax threshold will be increased to $130,000. This means that individuals earning up to this amount will not be subject to personal income tax. New tax rates. The new tax rates for personal income are structured as follows. For income above the threshold of $130,000, the first $60,000 will be taxed at 28%. The next $80,000, from $130,001 to $210,000, will be taxed at 40%. Any income exceeding $210,000 will incur a tax rate of 25%. The ministry emphasized that the adjustments are designed to lighten the tax burden on lower-income earners while ensuring that higher earners contribute a fair share. The proposed changes will be discussed further in upcoming budget sessions, where stakeholders will have the opportunity to voice their opinions and provide feedback. These adjustments are part of the government's broader efforts to enhance the tax system and stimulate economic growth while ensuring equitable tax contributions from all citizens. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali congratulates President Donald Trump. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali of Guyana has extended his congratulations to Donald Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States of America. In a statement, President Ali expressed his best wishes as President Trump embarks on the significant chapter of leadership and service. He emphasized the anticipation of strengthening ties between Guyana and the United States, highlighting the commitment to working closely with the new administration in the years to come. This message underscores the importance of collaboration and partnership between the two nations as they navigate future challenges and opportunities together. WPA calls for increased protest action over GECOM's decision on biometrics. News source Guyana. The Working People's Alliance, WPA, has expressed outrage over the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM's recent decision not to implement biometric identification for the upcoming elections. The party is calling for mass demonstrations to reverse this decision, which they claim undermines the integrity of free, fair, and credible elections in Guyana. WPA executive member Tukuma Ogunsai emphasized the importance of mobilizing public opinion and action to pressure GECOM. He stated, "This is a serious matter, and we have to draw the line in the sand on this matter. We believe that the fate of biometrics lies in the ability of the opposition and their supporters to respond appropriately through mass protests." Co-leader Dr. David Hines criticized GECOM chair, retired Justice Claudette Singh, for her ruling against biometrics due to time constraints. He noted, "You can't drag your feet for 4 years and then claim there isn't enough time to implement changes just months before the elections. This situation is a failure of GECOM's leadership." Dr. Hines warned that proceeding with elections while a significant portion of the electorate remains dissatisfied could lead to serious unrest. He urged GECOM to begin mobilizing resources immediately to ensure the implementation of a biometric system, reinforcing that the Commission's primary responsibility is to conduct elections that are free from fear and intimidation. In her decision, Justice Singh argued that making biometric identification mandatory would impose additional requirements on voters, potentially violating constitutional rights. She maintained that there was insufficient time to implement such a system before the elections. As the opposition prepares for potential protests, the WPA and its supporters are determined to advocate for electoral integrity and the voices of all citizens to be heard. Budget 2025 lacks sustainable poverty and cost of living solutions, says Winston Jordan. Former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan has criticized the $1.3 trillion budget 2025, describing it as inadequate in addressing the pressing issues of poverty and the rising cost of living. Speaking on the People's National Congress (PNC) program Nation Watch, Jordan characterized the budget as a hodgepodge of measures that fail to provide sustainable solutions for the poor and working class. Key concerns raised. Jordan highlighted that the government's reliance on a one-off cash grant of $100,000 and minor adjustments to tax structures will not significantly alleviate the 48% poverty rate in the country. He emphasized that these short-term measures are insufficient for addressing the systemic issues facing citizens. Poverty cannot be solved by a one-off cash grant or small increases in old age pension, Jordan stated. He argued that long-term policies are essential for tackling poverty effectively, including structural changes to the economy, the creation of permanent high-income jobs, and substantial improvements in education and health. Cost of living measures. In response to the escalating cost of living, the government has allocated $9 billion this year to address related issues. However, Jordan expressed concerns over the lack of a clear plan for the utilization of these funds, urging the Office of the Auditor General to investigate their application. He criticized the government's consistent focus on infrastructure spending without a coherent strategy, warning that this approach could lead to repeated failures in effective execution. They will end up doing the same thing as they were doing since 2020, which is the biggest budget every year, targeting infrastructure without any clear plan, he noted. Call for a comprehensive development plan. Jordan asserted that the budget lacks a solid foundation in any medium to long-term national development plan. He urged the government to prioritize better support for the Guyanese people, especially considering the country's rapid economic growth driven by the oil sector. In conclusion, Jordan's comments reflect a broader concern among opposition leaders regarding the government's fiscal policies and their implications for poverty alleviation and sustainable development in Guyana. OPR investigates fatal shooting incident in Mahaicony. The Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, and the Police Complaints Authority, PCA, have initiated an investigation into a tragic shooting incident that occurred in Airy Hall, Mahaicony, on Wednesday. The incident resulted in the deaths of Roger Irwin Pierre, also known as Pants, and 68-year-old Frederick Williams. Incident Overview. The sequence of events began around 9:30 a.m. when Pierre, a laborer from Airy Hall, engaged in a violent altercation with 63-year-old Luldat Tuknoth. Reports indicate that Pierre, who had been struggling with drug addiction and mental health issues, stabbed Tuknoth, critically injuring him. Tuknoth was subsequently transported to Mahaicony Hospital and later transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, due to his condition. After fleeing the scene, Pierre was located by police at Novar School Dam around 10:30 a.m., where he was reported to be brandishing a knife and causing a disturbance. When police attempted to disarm him on Dundee Public Road, Pierre resisted, even after being shot in the left foot. He continued to walk along the road with the weapon. Escalation of violence. As Pierre made his way to Airy Hall, bystanders urged him to surrender peacefully. However, his aggression escalated. He began throwing glass bottles at officers and residents. Pierre then concealed the knife and armed himself with a steel rod from a nearby construction site. He attacked 69-year-old Lambert Nunez, injuring him in the left hand. In a desperate attempt to subdue Pierre, a group of local residents, including Frederick Williams, intervened. During the struggle, Pierre managed to regain possession of the knife and fatally attacked Williams, stabbing him multiple times. Police response. In response to the escalating violence, 2 police officers fired multiple shots at Pierre, ultimately rendering him motionless. Both men were transported to Mahaicony Hospital. However, Williams succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment, and Pierre was pronounced dead upon arrival. Ongoing investigation. Preliminary examinations indicated that both men had sustained gunshot wounds, with Williams suffering multiple stab wounds. The area is currently being canvassed for CCTV footage, and witness statements are being collected as part of the ongoing investigation. The OPR and PCA aim to thoroughly review the circumstances surrounding this incident to ensure accountability and transparency in the actions taken by law enforcement. Government spends $376.4 billion more than it earned in 2024. News source Guyana. In a significant fiscal report, the central government announced a deficit of $376.4 billion, representing 7.3% of the GDP, at the close of 2024. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh revealed that total government expenditures reached $1.2 trillion, significantly surpassing revenue earnings of $784.6 billion. Revenue breakdown. Dr. Singh provided insight into the revenue streams, noting that the total current revenue for 2024, excluding contributions from the Guyana Red Plus Investment Fund, GRIF, the Natural Resource Fund, NRF, and carbon credits, amounted to $437.7 billion. This figure marks an increase of $55.6 billion, or 14.5% compared to 2023. Revenue collections from the Guyana Revenue Authority totaled $420.2 billion, complemented by $17.5 billion in non-tax revenue. Key highlights of revenue growth included: internal revenue collections amounted to $267 billion, with the private sector corporation tax, withholding tax, and personal income taxes contributing $35.7 billion to this growth. Strong performance in the private sector corporation tax, driven largely by payments from the oil and gas sector, accounted for an increase of $16.3 billion. Withholding tax collections grew by $10 billion, supported by enhanced collections from both the oil and gas sector and non-oil private sector activities. Customs and trade taxes. Customs and trade tax collections reached $40.4 billion, reflecting a 15.6% increase from 2023, primarily due to higher import duties related to motor vehicles and building materials. Value-added and excise tax collections also saw an uptick, totaling $112.8 billion, which is $9 billion more than the previous year. Expenditure insights. Dr. Singh elaborated on the government's expenditure, which totaled $1.2 trillion. Non-interest expenditure was recorded at $500.7 billion, a 35.3% increase from 2023. This rise was attributed to employment costs reaching $122.6 billion, influenced by a 10% salary increase for public servants. Increased spending on goods and services, totaling $169.5 billion, driven by cash grant initiatives. Transfer payments grew to $208.7 billion, bolstered by the expansion of the Because We Care cash grant program and adjustments for old age pensions. Investment growth. Furthermore, the government's public sector investment program saw a substantial increase, with $646.1 billion allocated in 2024, marking a 53.2% rise compared to the previous year. As the government navigates fiscal challenges, these figures underscore the need for strategic financial management to balance expenditure and revenue generation moving forward.